Okay, I think we can begin. Dear fellow homeopaths, welcome to today's webinar with Dr. Atul Jaggi. It's my great joy to see so many people joining us today. I am Dr. Lefteri and I am the homeopathic coordinator of VithoulkasCompass. This event is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube on VithoulkasCompass channel. After the very positive feedback and the great remarks that we got from the first webinar, we are proceeding today to the second webinar with our dear colleague, Dr. Atul. Dr. Atul Jaggi is an excellent homeopathic doctor, diploma classical. I think I was muted. Dr. Atul Jaggi is an excellent homeopathic practitioner, homeopathic doctor, diploma holder of International Academy of Classical Homeopathy of Professor Vithoulkas, but also a teacher of the Academy and one of the coordinators of the Academy's e-learning. He has a busy practice in India near Mumbai. Today, Dr. Atul will present us a case of Irritable Bowel Syndrome with hypertension with the help of VithoulkasCompass. If you have any questions during the presentation, please write them in the chat and we will try to answer them in the end. After the presentation, Andrea Tsokanas from VC team will close the session and tell you about an offer that we have. Dr. Atul, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Lefteri, for the kind introduction. So, friends, now every time we select a case, I try to make it a special case because so that we can learn from it. Now, this case is special in different respects. What's special about it is that a doctor from our clinic, who is himself an IACH diplomat for last 11 years, he took this case first, spent 1.5 hours with him, and then he brought the paper to me and he said that I cannot see a remedy. So he sat with me and I also started taking the case, almost half an hour to 40 minutes, and I was also completely lost. I could not see the remedy. So more than 2 hours we had spent and the remedy was not evident. So that is why it is special. But as Professor Vithoulkas says, that if we keep on, if we are really interested, something happens, something divine, and an information appears and the case gets clear. So this special experience I want to share through this case. Please allow me to share my screen. So this patient was a 60-year-old male diagnosed allopathically with hypertension, which is high blood pressure, and irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. The first consultation was on 5th August 2021. The presenting complaints: hypertension since 2010, almost 11 years, is taking allopathic medicine Telmikind 40 mg daily. So this was his first problem, high blood pressure. Now, in spite of taking this antihypertensive, he had observed that his blood pressure has increased in the last 10 days to a range of 180 by 100, which is quite high. The other problem was, as I said, irritable bowel syndrome, where for many years he was having 3 to 4 loose stools daily. So they had done many investigations and then finally diagnosed it as IBS. So he came with this diagnosis to us. Another presenting complaint was he had lumbago since 1 year, underlined 2 times, worse in the morning, underlined once. So with these presenting complaints, we proceeded further into his personal history. He is an engineer who retired 2 years ago, is second in 6 siblings. In April 21, had COVID with mild fever. The strong physical generals which we could gather from the case: thermally, he is not bothered by both heat and cold. Sleep position on left side, underlined 2 times. Wakes up refreshed, and there is snoring 1 plus. Desires sweets, underlined 2 times. Aversion spicy, which he contributes to IBS. It seems to aggravate it. This is why. Fatigue and weakness, underlined 2 times. Aggravation siesta, underlined 2 times. Since 8 years, his sexual desire is diminished, underlined 2 times. So these were the physical generals which we could get. But now, as you will see, all the force was on his mind. So let me share with you the mental symptoms which we could gather. Is a reserved and a closed person. And you will agree with me that when we have a reserved and a closed person in front of us, it is very difficult to gather information because they don't underline strongly, they don't put emotions. So we struggled for almost 2.5 hours and it was very difficult. So we call him reserved and closed. Next, he appeared very sad. There was strong sadness in his eyes. So on inquiring, he revealed that in April 21, his younger brother died due to corona, which was one grief, younger brother. And also 8 years ago, his 23-year-old son committed suicide. So he had been through a lot. The other information which we got, that he was emotionally a very sensitive person who would get hurt and offended easily. So he mentioned few hurts from his past, and we could make out that they would still hurt him. These incidents would still hurt him, and he was in a way unforgiving over the past offenses. He gave us an example that in 2015, when he went to his sister's home in the same city, so maybe his sister jokingly told him that she had lot of work to do and he must leave because she was busy. And this still hurted him after so many years. So this showed how sensitive he was. Grief, as it was evident, we have taken 3 times, but always he cries alone. He does not express his grief in front of others. And one thing he said, that his sadness is better when he goes out in the open air. So sadness better open air, underlined 2 times. Another strong symptom which we got, which was very strong, anxiety about his family members, about his daughter. If she would get late, he would be full of negative thoughts. Something bad has happened. She might have had an accident, and which would bring a kind of panic. So this anxiety was strong. He came for the first consultation with his daughter, who said that sometimes her father, who is the patient, can have violent paroxysms of anger. Paroxysmal anger, which could be violent. So this we underlined 2 times. And another complaint which he strongly said, that he feels very lazy, underlined 3 times. So for all those people who joined late, let me put up all the symptomatology that we could gather in one structure. So this was the presenting complaints: hypertension, chronic diarrhea, lumbago, worse morning, physical generals, sleeping on left, desire sweets, weakness, aggravation siesta, low libido. And on the mental column, we had some strong pathology: strong sadness, very sensitive, anxiety about family, violent anger, laziness, and together with this, of course, in the causation, we have strong grief. Now, I would need suggestions from your side. Which remedy would you be thinking? So let me open the chat here.
We have some ideas: Orum metallicum, sulfur, natrium sulfuricum, Orum muriaticum, nitric acid, natrium muriaticum, Staphysagria.
Okay. This is correct, left ear, yes. So I was also thinking of Natrum muriaticum, because the patient emotionally is closed, sensitive, sleeps on left side, which Natrum does, can have hypertension. But we were not finding the other physical keynotes like desire, salt, aversion, slimy, food. I could not confirm it. So then, as some people have suggested, Orum, exactly, we can have Orum, we can think of Orum here because of his makeup. Orum can definitely have violent anger. And because I was thinking of Orum, as some people have suggested, I also thought of Orum muriaticum. Because as Professor Vithoulkas says, that when we have a case of depression, which like pulsatilla is better open air, we should be thinking of Orum muriaticum also. And we have a keynote which says of Orum muriaticum that the person is aggravated by thinking about their complaints. If anybody asks an Orum muriaticum person, how are you? How's your health? Such questions anger him. So this was not the case here. And my problem was that there was strong anxiety about the family and strong laziness here. So I was not able to combine all the symptoms. Somebody says sulfur, that's a good possibility. So let us go to Compass and study the case. So now, if you see on your screen, ailments from grief, of course, we have many remedies. In 3+, it's natrum mur, ignatia, phosphoric acid. Aurum is a strong remedy here. Also, you see, Staphylos agria is here because we see aggravation siesta. But Staphylos agria is a very sweet person who keeps everything inside and smiles outside. Here, the sadness was quite evident. Next, if we see reserved, we again find natrum mur and thuya strong. So, of course, we all are thinking of natrum mur. Now, another symptom, anxiety about others, is phosphorus or cocculus. Now, somebody correctly suggested even natrum sulphuricum, which, because we have strong sulfur symptoms and natrum mur, but we can confirm natrum sulph through some of its keynotes, which we tried to do. For example, sputtering stools. Is the sadness better by passing stools? Because natrum sulph is one of the main remedies, cheerful after stools. But we could not confirm these two keynotes. Also, natrum sulph, if we ask him directly, they will confirm that they have strong suicidal thoughts which they try to resist due to the responsibilities, which again I could not confirm in this case. So anxiety for others was strong, where we find sulfur also. It was typical. Generally, phosphorus has anxiety, even cocculus, when their loved ones are sick. They are going through some disease, and phosphorus and cocculus lose their sleep. But typically, sulfur is anxious when their loved one gets late. They have gone somewhere and they get late. So a sulfur might tell you, I don't lose my sleep when my loved ones have fever, but I get panicky when they are late, which we got in this case. So sadness has many remedies. Laziness, we all know sulfur is quite strong here. We see natrum mur in one. Now, aggravation siesta, it is interesting. We know Staphylococcus aureus, but we also see sulfur and natrum mur here. Offended easily was strong, but which can be many remedies. Also, you see, carcinosin can have a similar emotionality. Offended easily, lots of grief in the life, very sensitive. So sometimes when we are stuck between natrum mur and Staphylococcus aureus, it may be a carcinosin case. But again, we should get some strong keynotes. For example, desired chocolates, cheerful from thunderstorm, sleeping position on abdomen, which was missing in this case. Now, hatred for persons who have offended. We know nitric acid has this strongly. It is a very unforgiving remedy. But also aurum, natrum mur, and sulfur. They cannot forgive the persons who have offended them. Next, it was sadness, better open air. So we said pulsatilla and aurum mur. Even platina is strongly here. Violent anger. We have a lot of remedies where we see aurum can have violent anger. Even Staphylococcus aureus can have violent anger. Desire sweets. Let's see who sleeps on left side. Natrum mur, natrum sulf, sulfur, and thuya. Magnesia muriatica. We saw it in laziness also. So like this, we should be looking at each rubric. Let's see hypertension, which is a big rubric. Now, we should be also thinking of a remedy like adrenaline. For example, if we are not able to find a remedy that suits from totality, so just because of lot of stress, emotional stress, and a combination of hypertension, we may be having adrenaline as a first layer, which might open up the case. But mind you, provided we don't find a remedy from totality, then we go to the strategy of pathology and prescribe adrenaline. But let's see whether we can find a remedy from totality or not. So if we go to the results, Compass says, it's taking some time. I don't know why. Think of natrum mur, think of Staphylococcus aureus, which we are definitely thinking, sulfur, aurum met, as many of you suggested. Aurum is an industrious remedy. Strong suicidal thoughts, better music, better evening, praying. Those keynotes are missing. Rather, we get laziness here. Nux vomica. So just to show you, natrum mur covers 15 out of 18 symptoms. What it does not cover is anxiety for others, which is strong in this case. It does not cover better open air. Staphysagria covers 12 out of 18 symptoms. What it does not cover is reserved, laziness, hatred for persons who had offended. As I said, it is a very sweet and a selfless remedy, very servile remedy. Sulfur covers again 15 out of 18 symptoms. What it does not cover is ailments from grief, which our remedy should definitely have. Reserved, of course, sulfur is an open patient. Orum, 12 out of 18 symptoms. What it does not cover is anxiety for others, laziness. As I said, it's an industrious remedy. So I was confused after 2.5 hours. Also, what we should do always is look at the small remedies. What small remedies is Compass suggesting? So it is suggesting Baryta Sulph, which of course does not fix the case because of two keynotes. But Baryta Sulph is reserved because of timidity, because of the Baryta element, not because of the offended easily element. And the second was carcinosin, which I said we must be thinking, but we could not confirm. So let us go further down to the PowerPoint. Now, 2.5 hours of talking, there was something I observed in this patient, which neither he said nor his daughter. None of them gave this observation, this symptom by themselves, and which the doctor from our clinic had also missed. So what was this observation? The observation was that this patient, what I would see, he was talking, and you see, you because if you talk to them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you will miss it. But if you have been talking to them for a long time, I saw that he was nodding his head. Even when we were thinking, he was nodding. He was nodding. So this becomes, excuse me, important observation. So with this observation, can you think of a remedy now? Somebody says lycopodium. Somebody says Orum Sulph. Orum Sulph. Somebody says pulsatilla. Pulsatilla. So let us go back to the compass and insert this important observation. But before I do that, I want to read to you something very interesting from Viva. Professor Vithoulkas writes something. Let us see whether what he writes fits into the remedy, into this patient. Does it resonate with this patient? So he writes that this remedy causes such sensitivity in the individual that eventually these patients become very isolated in themselves, very introverted, which our patient is, as if any contact, any real communication would generate only pain, for them. So this shows the sensitivity, which makes them reserved, like a natrum mule. That is why consolation aggravates. They become introvert because of this sensitivity. That is why we see a real aversion to company in this remedy. There is mostly a desire to sit alone and brood. He can sit for hours and hours, mulling over his thoughts, finding fault with others, criticizing them, mostly because they did not treat him well or were unjust with him. So you remember the example, what his sister did to him few years ago, and he still remembers it, that I was not treated well, brooding over that. Indeed, we also see that these individuals do not like contact. They do not like to be touched. There is an aggravation from coming into close contact with anybody. So this is why these people are reserved, closed. They will express their emotions when alone. They cry when alone. And as the pathology progresses, they may become irritable, irascible, or sometimes violent. You see, this was in our patient also. So with this sensitivity, with the violence, let us go further what Professor Vithoulkas says for this remedy. He further says, two keynote symptoms produced by this remedy should be understood in the context of irritability of the nervous system. And they are, look at this, my friends, constant nodding of head. Constant nodding. So this remedy has this, suggesting paralysis agitans, which is another name of Parkinson's, and great sensitiveness to touch, to least contact. So it can be physical touch and even emotional touch, which these people don't like. So how does Professor Vithoulkas conclude about this remedy? When the grief has not been expressed but remained suppressed for a long time, the nodding of the head sets in. It is a motion that appears in this remedy, though not necessarily because of Parkinson's disease. So what he wants to say, you may not find trembling of hands, involuntary trembling. You may just find this nodding. So this disease should, however, be considered within the sphere of action of this remedy. So you see, what is interesting, in remedies like mercury, plumbum, we see trembling of hands, even Staphylococcus aureus. But in some remedies, we see especially the nodding of the head. This remedy is one of them. Then Professor Vithoulkas writes, the symptomatology of this remedy develops slowly and after long periods of not only grief, even vexation, which this patient went through. Grief was evident because of his son committing suicide, loss of his brother, and also vexations, multiple humiliations because of his sensitive nature. it is a very useful remedy for chronic complaints that date back to prolonged grief. So I see in the chat somebody is suggesting phosphoric acid, which is a good suggestion because of grief, because of weakness, but we must see the keynotes: desire for fruits, desire for juices, or milky urine. Which we could not confirm. So let us insert this symptom into the compass. So as you can see now, the 19th symptom is motion of head, shaking, nodding, waving, etc. Let us see the remedies here. Orum Sulph is italics, cicuta, and Calcarea phosphorica. Calcarea phosphorica is a remedy which can have indignation, but we will get other keynotes: sensitivity to draft, continuous complaining. Orum Sulph, as many of you suggested, is the remedy which we should be thinking. Now let us repertorize. It is taking some time. So natrum mur, Staphylos agria. Look at this. Sulfur and aurum met are together. Somebody suggests causticum, which could be a good possibility because of grief, because we find it in nodding head. It can have a low libido, but causticum generally has aversion to sweets. And after a prolonged grief, causticum will be very sympathetic and won't be able to take injustice. Which component was missing here? That is why in large remedies we don't see causticum coming up. So what I am trying to say, my friends, that look at the remedy 3 and 4. When compass suggests two minerals together, there is a possibility that the patient might need a combination remedy. In such a case, we should always open the materia medica and read the combination remedy. Now let me take you to the small proposed remedies and look what compass suggests. It says you better be thinking about Orum Sulphuratum. Though it only covers 5 out of 19 symptoms, but nodding is strong, ailments from grief, it is strong, reserved, sadness, and many combination symptoms of sulfur and aurum. You see, all these remedies are not well-proved remedies. We will not find them, their symptoms in the repertory. But even because compass suggests it as a small remedy, we should be opening our materia medicas and reading this remedy. So because I was aware of this remedy's nodding and I observed it, it was, so let me take you to the, sorry, just a minute. Okay. So going to the PowerPoint, I decided to give Orum Sulphuratum 200, one dose on 5th August 2021. So generally what we do, because it's a rare remedy, we give it from 2 pharmacies, just to be sure, which is a good policy. Somebody asked, nodding was conscious? No, it was involuntary. It was going on even when we were thinking. So when I observed this, I asked the daughter that, have you observed that he nods? And then she even confirmed. Sorry for my throat. Even she confirmed that the whole family has been observing this for some time now. So this was a confirmation for us, and we could give Orum Sulph with confidence. So as I was saying, that it's good to give from 2 pharmacies so that all the labor that we put in, it doesn't go waste. Maybe one pharmacy is inactive, the remedy is spoiled. So it's good to give from 2, and this has been taught to us by Professor Vithoulkas. Because, okay, going further, 1 month after Orum Sulph, on 7th September 2021, laziness is better and fatigue is better by 50%. This is what we want to hear. But what is about the grief? He says, grief of brother is not disturbing anymore. Grief for son is still there, but if the thoughts come, they stay for less time. This is it, a good development. Sadness is still better open air. You see, sulfur as a remedy is definitely better open air. So if this grief goes away, we can add Orum Sulphuratum in this rubric. Past hurts are better and feels emotionally stronger. Again, a good development. What is interesting, which is not mentioned in the repertory, which we can include, anxiety of others is better by 50%. He gives an example. 2 days ago, daughter went to see her friend and got late, and I was less anxious. So he could make out immediately all the negative thoughts of before did not come. This is a good development. Quality of sleep and appetite have improved. Diarrhea once in 4 to 5 days now. Before, he used to get loose stools every day. So as we know, sulfur is a good remedy for chronic diarrhea, but it was a case of Orum Sulphuratum. Lumbago, better by 75%. Nodding head is better as family members noticed it less. He was still nodding in front of us, even now. Prescription is, of course, placebo. 4.5 months after Orum Sulph, grief of son more than 80% better. Emotionally much better. Weeping alone is not present, not getting hurt now. Energy much better. He says this, his family finds him more fresh. Anxiety of others is reduced. He gives another example. I went to the village for few days, but I didn't call my family at all, which I would do before. So you see, sir, the freedom appears. Even from village, he used to call his family members. How are they? Where are they? Have they reached home? He has stopped doing that. BP is normal, but he has now developed bradycardia. His pulse rate is less. So seeing this, we advised him to reduce the telmikind 40, to taper it now. Sexual desire still low, but he has now started getting the morning full bladder erections, which was a new change for him. Diarrhea absent. Interestingly, even from observation, the nodding of head was unnoticeable to us also. There were no new keynotes, so of course the prescription was placebo. 7 months after Orum Sulph, emotionally very happy, grief and weeping absent, anxiety, others is still reduced. He again said that I went to village for a week without any anxious thoughts. Energy is improving. He started 3 kilometers walk since 1 week, which is good development. Full bladder erection continues and sexual desire has increased. Stools are normal, no diarrhea, nodding of head is absent. Blood pressure is 140/90 today at our clinic, and he is presently taking telmikind 20 milligram, that too irregularly. So before he was taking 40 daily, now he is taking 20 irregularly. On 14th Feb, he had 103 fever, 39.4, which he just took one paracetamol and which got away. It did not come the next day. Since 5 days, he has developed pain in his left little finger, which is an old symptom he used to have in the past. Still not troublesome. No other keynotes. So prescription was, of course, placebo. Now I see in the chat there was no initial aggravation noted by us, as he did not have any. He felt sadness getting better. Level of health, in my understanding, I would put him in group C, because maybe we have one more follow-up after this and he stopped coming to us. So we did not see him after that. The only reason I chose this case to discuss that how important it is, the observation, and what we learn from this case is the strategy of combination remedies. When totality of symptoms points to two different minerals, we can think of their combination remedy as a possible remedy to initiate the curative process. Whether it would be the only remedy needed or other remedies will be needed after that would depend upon the level of health of the patient. The prerequisite for giving a combination remedy is that we must find some individualizing keynote symptoms of this combination remedy. so that we can prescribe it with some confidence. Now, in this case, it was the nodding of head. As all the combination remedies, not all, I must say, some are proven well, many of them are not represented well in the repertory. There is a possibility that the repertorization may not push this remedy up in the analysis. We agree? But the knowledge of peculiar keynotes will help us to prescribe it anyway. Now, since I decided to speak about combination remedies, I would very briefly share another small case from our practice. This was a case of a 33-year-old female diagnosed with diabetes. She had high blood sugar. First consultation was on 2016 February. I will discuss very briefly because I learnt a lot from this case. Her main pathology was itching vagina, underlined 3 times. Frequent urine in the night, underlined 3 times. Polyuria is a symptom of diabetes. Sugar in the urine. Creamy leukorrhea. Pain left shoulder, underlined 2 times. Headache, aggravation, sun, 2 times. Sneezing in the dust, underlined 2 times. Hard ganglion on right wrist, underlined 2 times. Her physical generals were desire sweets 3, chocolates 3, chicken 3, weakness 3, obesity 3. She was thermally hot, underlined 2 times, and she sleeps on her right side. Her mental pathology was anxiety of her children 3 times, anxiety family 2 times, anxiety health 2, fear of cockroach 3 times, offended easily 3 times, reserved patient 3 times, fear of thunder 1. Now, this was the case we had. And just what are your suggestions? And and caught me immediately and says natrum phos. Yeah, but you see, now you are thinking because it's a case of combination remedy. Now, in this year, I couldn't use combinations remedies so easily in the beginning. So I was thinking of natrum mur because she is offended easily, carcinosin because of offended easily, chocolates desire, but she is sleeping on her right side. I could not confirm carcinosin. And you see, I can think of Calcarea carbonica because of all the fears, but she is thermally hot. If I think about phosphorus, she is offended easily, which doesn't go with this. She is reserved. You see, so you are confused, you are stuck. And this is how I slowly understood that you reach to the strategy of combination remedies. Now, once you are aware of this strategy, I asked this patient to show me her tongue because I was aware of a keynote of natrum phosphoricum. Look at her tongue. It is yellow at the base. It is pink here, slight whitish, but yellow here. And if you look at this rubric, tongue, yellow base, you only have 2 remedies. And seeing natrum phos here gives us the confidence to prescribe in this case. So this is what I wanted to share regarding combination remedies and regarding their individualizing symptoms. Now, since this is a webinar about compass, just a minute, let me show you so we gave natrum phos here. Also, creamy leucorrhea is a keynote of natrum phos. Now, let me take you to compass again. Now, how we can use compass to find individualizing symptoms, the peculiar keynotes of combination remedies, if we are thinking of a combination remedies. So what I generally do, under the remedies section, I write the combination remedy, let's say natrum phosphoricum, and under the rubric size, I write maximum 1. So this means compass is going to search in all the rubrics where natrum phos can be in any degree from 4, 3, 2, 1, but it has only one remedy, which is natrum phos, because that is going to be a keynote of natrum phos. So if I make this search, you see, this is very good to study. It's searching. So it says it has 55 rubrics. All you see, 1, the bracket means there is only one remedy because we selected maximum 1. And here you find the beautiful keynotes of the remedies. Discoloration, palette, yellow. Look at this interesting rubric, which you can remember for future. Extremities, trembling after emissions. If you want to know who gave this, you go into show rubric authors, and it has been given by VithoulkasCompass homeopathic team and Kent. So it becomes important to remember, and you can ask directly your patient, do you get trembling once you ejaculate? Head, now this were 3+. Head pain during thunderstorm, only remedy, natrum phos. Sneezing from chalk, only remedy. Interestingly, our patient had sneezing from dust, and this is chalk. You see, also look at this, this rubric, which you will find mostly in females. Bladder urging to urinate after coition. Many a times we have confirmed this in our natrum phos patients. So what I am trying to say, that those combination remedies which are not represented well in our materia medicas, we can use the help of compass to know their keynote symptoms, which we can confirm in our patients. So after searching it in this way, what I generally do next, I go for the next search, where in the minimum tab, I write 2, and in the maximum, I write 5. So now the search is a little more generalized, and I try to find natrum phos. For this means it's no longer going to find the remedy where natrum phos is the only remedy, but less than 5 remedies present. And let me show you what symptoms this search, this is also very helpful. So it says desire.
मुझे खाना दो, तू खाना नको या भाई तुम्ही सोने का नहीं तू या भाई उल्टा है आलिशा का उल्टा है नाश्ता का उल्टा है
Micro. Sorry. So here you see we find another keynote which we couldn't have found in the first search, which is again a keynote of natrum phos, desire fried eggs. They like it very much. So in this way, we can find individualizing keynotes, male seminal emissions with spasms. Again, natrum phos is, so here natrum phos is not the only remedy, but it is prominent. If we compare it from the other remedies in the same rubric, it is prominent here. Of course, let's look at faintness after coition. Here, we don't need to remember this for natrum phos because we have agaricus, for which it is more prominent, faintness after coition. And there are other remedies like digitalis and scipia, which have it as prominent as natrum phos. So this we may not remember. So this is how generally I search. I do one more search after this, which is I write here 6 and I write here 10. So this is my last search. So by searching in this way, we can find some peculiar keynotes. Now look at this, discoloration palette white. It has more than 6 remedies, less than 10, but natrum phos is prominent. And we find another keynote, which you all know, nocturnal emissions every night. Natrum phos is so prominent. If a male patient tells us that in the night there is a lot of pollution every night, this is a strong keynote of natrum phos. So by these searches, we can find important individualizing confirmatory keynotes for the combination remedy that we are thinking. And Compass helps us a lot for this search. So I think this was my last slide. And now I can stop share and you can ask your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atul, for these very educational cases about the combination remedies. It was very interesting. And of course, what is always impressive in homeopathy, in the art that we do, is that homeopathy does not only help to the physical symptom, to the irritable bowel syndrome, but it transforms the patient. It makes him happier. It changes the timidity, the fears that he had. All this thanks to homeopathy and thanks to the teachings of our teacher, Professor George Vithoulkas. So thank you very much.
Lefteri, because you talk about happiness.
Yes.
I remember a quote of Professor Vithoulkas, which is very essential to mention here. He says, the purpose of medicine is to give happiness to people, to patients. So this is what homeopathy does always.
Yes.
So
Great. So about the questions now.
Yes.
Anne made a very interesting comment about the nodding of head that is very usual also in India. They have, especially in some place in India, they have always this nodding that is very, I cannot do it, cannot perform it. It's very peculiar from side to side.
Yeah.
And can you differentiate between this nodding and the nodding that you saw in the patient? Yes.
Yeah. What Anne says is correct. But what I want to say, we Indians do this on being asked a question, not just otherwise also. So this patient was not nodding from side to side. He was nodding up and down, and even without talking to him. So this was involuntary, whereas we Indians do it voluntary
Yes.
on being asked. So that's an interesting observation, and yeah.
Okay, another question is about sulfur
Yes.
and timidity. Nima Nageb writes about sulfur. I'm a bit confused about what belongs to the sulfur picture and what doesn't. It's in 3 under timidity, through under reserved, but none of the material medicas I've looked describe a timid sulfur. Yet I used it recently in a little girl who couldn't make contact with the word, not expecting anything, and she's now able to go to school.
Yeah. So I want to, because there is a misunderstanding here. I did not use timidity, neither did I mention it. He was reserved, meaning very closed, not out of timidity, as is mentioned in Varaitas. He was, because he was very sensitive and he would get hurt easily. From there, he has come to this reserved nature. So something like natrum muriaticum.
Okay, very good. Another question is about the potency. Why did you choose the 200C?
Why 200?
In the first case, yes.
Why? Because you see, there was, I don't know whether she wants, whoever has asked me the question, they want me to give a higher potency or a lower one.
I don't know. They ask if they took only one dose. Okay. Yes,
Yeah,
only
only
one
one
dose he
dose.
took, 200. And why did you give 200? It's another question. Yes.
Yeah, because I think maybe they asked because the patient was from group C. You see, the idea is I see some mental emotional pathology, strong grief coming up. And since I was, so definitely I wanted to give 200 and higher. But since I was giving a new remedy for the first time, I wanted to be sure and not create unnecessary aggravation. This is why I gave just the starting dose of 200.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you again very much.
I thank you.
And thank everyone that who has watched us today. And now I'm passing to Andreas for a for an offer that we have from VithoulkasCompass.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lefteris. What I would like to say, I'm not going to keep you for a long. What I'm going to say, I'm going to just mention that everyone who's on this webinar, they are eligible to get a 20% discount by using this coupon code, as you can see it on the screen. It's VCAJ23. When you purchase a subscription, you can get a 20% discount for 6 and 12 months subscription plans, all of them. Also, what I would like to mention is that if you would like to contact VithoulkasCompass for any questions or any help you may need with the software, you can send us an email to support@vithoulkascompass.com or to myself, hokanas@vithoulkascompass.com. These are my contact details, my number. You can call me on the mobile, Viber, or WhatsApp. And we will come back to you within 24 hours. Also, another feature that it could be helpful for you if you have any difficulties, you may schedule a personalized presentation, and one of our team, we will go through with the Vithoulkas Compass software, and we will show you how it works. And if you have any questions, we can answer them via Zoom or Skype. It's up to you. That's all I needed to tell you. And please contact us. We would like to be on your side and help you with any questions you may have. And personally, I would like to thank Dr. Atul for this spectacular presentation he made today, and Dr. Lefteris Tapakis for being here with us and help with this demonstration. But mostly, I would like to thank everyone for being in this webinar. Your attendance is quite important for us to carry on with these webinars with Dr. Atul. Thank you, Atul. Thank you, Lefteris. It's a great help. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.